The Denver Nuggets have interest in Jordan Poole and Jonas Valanciunas, but is it worth Michael Porter Jr.? Who knows? We'll talk about it. And I have 3 trades that I think will help the Washington Wizards maximize this trade deadline. Come on, rock with your boy. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again. And your favorite podcast now has a newsletter, introducing the Locked On Wizards daily newsletter. A one-stop shop for the ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Wizards newsletter. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the college football playoffs. The college football playoffs are here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The college football playoff, presented by Allstate, begins with 4 first-round games, December 20th and 21st on ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. All right, everybody, like I said, the Denver Nuggets have interest in Jordan Poole and Jonas Valanciunas. But would it make sense? So we're going to take a look at a prospective trade for Jordan Poole or Jonas Valanciunas going to the Denver Nuggets. And then I got a couple other trades that I think definitely make sense at the trade deadline if, again, the Washington Wizards want to maximize this trade deadline, which they definitely need to. But first things first, Jordan Poole and the Denver Nuggets. Yes, after dropping a 39 nugget piece on the Denver Nuggets, they have interest in acquiring the young scoring combo guard. But would it make sense? I'm going to say no. All right, so let's look at a prospective trade real quick. So the first trade I'm going to bring up that makes sense. Now, let me start by saying this. I don't believe that Jordan Poole makes sense to the Denver Nuggets. And the reason for that is his salary. If you look at the salary situation, he is currently making $29.6 million. Now, if you look at Michael Porter Jr., which is right now, it is officially, it was put out in the media that the Denver Nuggets are shopping Michael Porter Jr. So that would be the one logical move because, again, what do you have to do? You have to match salaries. And if you look at Jordan Poole, again, he's making a salary of $29.6 million. So you got to try to max salaries. Now, doing that, the most logical player that for the Wizards to acquire would be Michael Porter Jr. Now, he is currently making $35.8 million. So, I mean, and then when you look at the contract length, it's 3 years. So are you really gaining in that deal? You know, like I said, if you're going to flip Jordan Poole, you want to flip him for a deal that's going to include draft picks or young prospects that fit your timeline. Michael Porter Jr., look, let's not take away from what he is, a really good player. Now, could you say all-star? Could you say star in this league? I think he has star potential. He's obviously not the star on Denver, is definitely Jokic's team. And then you probably could say that Jamal Murray is your second guy. But Michael Porter Jr. is a really good player. But here's what he also is, a very ISO-heavy player. And when we look at those 3 factors, contract or salary and fit, he doesn't fit. Yes, he is a young not going to say prospect, but he's a young player that is, if not just entering his prime, is about to hit his prime. So for a young team like the Wizards, yes, it could be very, very tricky to, to kind of say no to a young player who could definitely, help your team kind of take their next step. But here's the situation where you're in year 2 of a rebuild. And if you're looking to build a team culture here in DC where it surrounds team movement, ball movement, team basketball, Michael Porter Jr. doesn't fit the timeline. If you look at this again, if you look at the length of years, 3 years, and then you look at the salary, he's making more. You're more on the hook for Michael Porter Jr. than you would be for Jordan Poole, and he doesn't fit, in my opinion. He doesn't fit the timeline because to me, do you play him at the 4? Maybe, but like I said, could he be your long-term option at the 4? Because you're looking at Bilal at the 3, even though you can't play Bilal Coulibaly at the 2. But if you go into this draft and you don't hit number 1 pick and you don't get Cooper Flag, then you're probably looking to add a shooting guard in this draft coming up in Dylan Harper. So if not Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe. So like I said, I don't think he fits. Now, could they play him? Here's the thing. Looking at Jordan Poole, I think Jordan Poole has shown that, could he be that guy? Absolutely. But I say it all the time. He is also a tradable piece on this team. While while I'm a big fan of Jordan Poole and I love what I see not only on the court and off the court for him, he is a tradable piece. Every player on this team is tradable outside of the 5 draft picks under Will Dawkins. And, so everybody is tradable, in my opinion. So if you find a deal that's too good to pass up, yes, you pull that trigger. You make that move. And you do that for any player on this team, because this is a rebuild, man. And if you really want to maximize the assets you get in return in the form of draft picks and young prospects, and especially if you look at the contract situation with Jordan Poole, if you find a good package, you make that move. You make that trade. The same thing, and the same goes for Malcolm Brogdon. The same goes for Jonas Valanciunas, and same goes for Kyle Kuzma. If not Corey Kispert, same is another guy where, just like Jordan Poole, you can envision him being here long term. But if you find a deal that's too good to pass up, you make that move. There's other players that are also tradable. Johnny Davis is tradable. Patrick Baldwin Jr. is tradable. So, looking at Jordan Poole, you make that move. But to me, if you move Jordan Poole, you want to maximize your return. And I don't think you maximize your return with the Denver Nuggets. I just don't think you do, because while Michael Porter Jr. is a really good player, I don't think he fits here in DC. Even if you try to slide him to the 4, defensively, yeah, I don't think it fits. He could definitely score. He's a score-minded guy, and he could definitely fit the role of being that number 1 option, taking over for Kyle Kuzma, because obviously Kyle Kuzma will be moved at some point leading up to the deadline. So could he take over as the number 1 option and be the 1-2 punch with Jordan Poole? Yes. And could he take a lot of pressure off of Bilal? Yes. But then he would also take a lot of touches away from Bilal. And that's the part I have a problem with. Michael Porter Jr. can play. That is not up for debate. But I don't think he fits. And that's why I'm saying no to this trade. But what would make sense? Not Jordan Poole, but Jonas Valanciunas does make sense to the Denver Nuggets. So what trade would I advocate? And this is the trade I would push forward to the Denver Nuggets, because they do have interest in Jonas Valanciunas. In this trade, I would send Jonas Valanciunas to the Denver Nuggets for Zeke Nnaji and DeAndre Jordan and a 2026 first round pick. Because the reason I'm asking for a 2026 first round pick is this. The Denver Nuggets, stretching back to before this year's draft, has shown that they are willing to part ways with their first round picks. They were going to part ways with their first round pick this previous draft. And I think they would definitely be willing to part ways with the 2026 first round pick for a player like Jonas Valanciunas, who could be that backup center, be that rebounder, provide points in the paint for their second unit, and definitely be a really good complement to Nikola Jokic, in my humble opinion. And because that's a big reason why they have interest in Jonas Valanciunas. He has shown that he could be productive in the paint. He could be productive on the second unit. And I think he would be a good complement. Now, what would be the hesitation level of them parting ways with a first round pick? Well, they've shown that they are willing to part ways with a first round pick. So I'm asking for the 2026, because yes, I think that when it comes to getting a first round pick in return, Jonas Valanciunas is going to be one of the trickier guys to get a first round pick because of his age. And the fact that, it all comes down to fit. He's not going to fit with teams where they're looking to be faster in transition. He fits with more half-court teams because he's slowing down a little bit in his age, but he's still very, very productive in the paint as far as his mid-range game, scoring in the paint, rebounding, rim protection. He has a lot of value being that guy, that glue guy in the paint. So I'm asking for that 2026 first-round pick. Looking at the other pieces, DeAndre Jordan is an expiring contract, so he would be gone in the year. If not, I probably envision DeAndre Jordan being a buyout candidate, so you're probably not going to retain him for very long. And plus, you already got Rashawn Holmes, so if you move on from Jonas Valanciunas, you're probably going to retain Rashawn Holmes. Even though you look at the situation with Mark Magnet III and Tristan Vukcevic, I think they're definitely going to entertain Rashawn Holmes too, because you got to see what you have in Tristan Vukcevic and Mark Magnet III if you don't move on from him, because he is an expiring contract. He's very versatile. He can play the 4 and the 5. So he's a guy that, I've said in past videos that Mark Magnet III is a guy that you keep around for a while. But another subject for another day. So yeah, and then looking at Zeke Nnaji, he is a young guy who can play at the 4 on the second unit. That could be part of the rebuild. He's a young player who, again, doesn't need to be a star player, doesn't need to be a starter, doesn't even need to be a high usage guy. At the 4, he's one of those ground and pound power forwards, man. So I like Zeke Nnaji. And like I said, DeAndre Jordan is probably going to be a buy-in candidate, and you get a first-round pick. So you guys let me know what you think about that trade, and do you like it, do you not like it, and why? All right, so next we're going to get into Jordan, or not, we're going to talk about Jordan Poole, right? Next we're going to get into Jonas Valanciunas, and what kind of trade would make sense with him going to the Los Angeles Lakers? So we're going to get into that, but before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view, live, play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. All right, everybody, let's move on. Jonas Valanciunas, he is getting interest from the Los Angeles Lakers. We covered it in the last video where he could definitely fit in a trade to the Lakers. So what trade would I advocate for Jonas Valanciunas going to the Lake Show? Well, again, looking at the contract situation, if you're looking at what player would I realistically like from the Lakers, you're looking at Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's one guy that I would really love in any kind of return deal for Jonas Valanciunas. But if you look at the contract situation, if you look at the whole ordeal with the second apron, you've got to match salaries, especially for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. So saying that, I'm targeting Gabe Vincent. Now, I know some people have been receptive to that trade, and some people don't like the trade, don't like Gabe Vincent. But to me, and I get why. If you look at where you would fit Gabe Vincent on this roster, he would be a backup point guard, a backup combo guard, if not that. You already got Jared Butler. You're looking long term, and I'm saying long term, but you're looking at some small stability going forward. Jared Butler, his contract is finito at the end of the year. And if you look at Gabe Vincent, he has a very, very team-friendly 2-year deal. So his contract would expire at the end of next season. So you have a guy you got that guy who can fill in for Jared Butler. What else do you get? 2 second-round picks. So in the deal that I'm advocating for Jonas Valanciunas to the Lakers, and let me say this, you definitely asked for first-round pick. But I think the biggest thing to understand with the Lakers as opposed to other teams is LeBron James is the big defining factor. How long do you have with him? And that would be the one factor. How, are they going to be hesitant to move off of first round picks? Because at some point, maybe they may be looking to maybe rebuild this team. Because if you lose LeBron, you're probably going to lose AD, and you're probably going to go from there. Is you see what players fit the long term vision of the Lakers. Because the Lakers are a team that do they ever really rebuild? No, but that's the thing. LeBron had. He took some time away from the team. It was off the court stuff. I'm not going to talk about on this platform, but like I said, he's a guy that he's not going to be around forever. So they could be hesitant to include a first round pick, but that should not stop you for asking. You definitely try to get a first round pick from the Los Angeles Lakers. But to me, the more realistic trade is Gabe Vincent and their 2025 second round picks for Jonas Valanciunas. Gabe Vincent is a guy who can definitely fill in back at point guard next year in the place of Jared Butler, and maybe you include Jared Butler in that deal. Like I said, you're looking for a little bit of stability going forward. Gabe Vincent is a guy who could definitely play. And he's obviously not going to handcuff this team salary-wise or a long-term contract. So, like I said, that is the most realistic trade sending Jonas Valanciunas to the Lakers. It would be Gabe Vincent and their 2025 second-round picks. And like I said, I get it. A lot of people are very low on second-round picks. But here's the thing. You can package a lot of these second-round picks that we have because we have most of the second-round picks in the league. You can package those. And you can get, move back into the lottery, move back into the first round. Maybe they, pull a similar situation like we did in this year's draft, move back into the first round in the 2025, NBA draft. So, like I said, it gives us capabilities, man. So, I think that's a good move. I know a lot of people are kind of low on this trade, but like I said, Jonas Valanciunas is not guaranteed to get you a first-round pick. And like I said, you take those 2025 second-round picks because you can utilize those and definitely move back into the first round. Probably in the later stages of the first round, you're not going to move back into the lottery using those 2025 second-round picks. So if you want to move back into the later stages of the first round and move back into the first round, those 2 second-round picks give you the capability to do so. Like I said, Gabe Vincent, again, is not going to weigh us down. He definitely can be a good piece for next year. He's only on a 2-year contract. So, like I said, I think it's a good move. I think it's the most realistic move to the Lakers, in my opinion, because, you could do Kuzma to the Lakers, but then I'm not a big fan of D'Angelo Russell coming to the Wizards because I think with his play style, it would, 1, conflict with Jordan Poole, and 2, it would not help better these young guys, man. And not to say that D'Angelo Russell can't play. He doesn't fit. Like Michael Porter Jr., he doesn't fit the timeline, and he doesn't fit with what the Wizards are trying to do. Even though I believe he's an expiring contract, but it would be counterproductive with him on the team. And I think that if you make that move of, sending Jonas Valanciunas and Kyle Kuzma out west, is to help the youth movement in the second half of the season, not be a detriment to it. So, all right, guys, we're going to look at one more trade tonight, and this is a Kyle Kuzma trade. And to me, this is the most, because I've looked at every fit as far as the prospective teams that have interest in Kyle Kuzma. And to me, this is the most realistic team and the most realistic trade you can pull off for Kyle Kuzma. Because, again, his contract is something that with most teams that want to acquire him, because the second apron, you've got to match the salary. So this is to the Sacramento Kings, a team that has been linked to Kyle Kuzma for a very long time. So this trade is sending Kyle Kuzma to the Sacramento Kings in return for Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and a 2026 first-round pick. Now, we know that the Washington Wizards have brought down the asking price for Kyle Kuzma. There's no longer 2 first-round picks. You're probably looking at a first-round pick and a young prospect. With this deal, Kevin Huerter, University of Maryland, former Terrapin, he's got ties to the area. Like I said, Kevin Huerter's a guy who played at College Park. So he's a nice shooter. So if you, in the event that you move on from Corey Kispert and Kevin Huerter, you got that young shooter. If in the event you hold on to Corey Kispert, you got another shooter that you can add to the second unit. And again, his contract's not going to weigh you down long term. Trey Lyles is an inspiring contract. And a depth piece, and you get a 2026 first-round pick that I think that the Sacramento Kings will be willing to part ways with. So you get that first-round pick. You get that young prospect, in my opinion, and Kevin Huerter. While, when you say young prospect, he's been in the league for a while, but he's a guy who can definitely, help be that shooter on the second unit. And again, he's a former Maryland Terrapin, so you got that link to the DMV. But Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and a 2026 first-round pick make a lot of sense to me. Because, if you look at the contract situation, you've got to match salaries when it comes to Kyle Kuzma. So that's what I'm saying. And that's why when you look at a lot of the teams that are linked to Kyle Kuzma, that's the one hiccup you kind of look at, is that you got to match those salaries. What kind of talent are you willing to take on? And with teams like the Warriors, Wiggins is one guy that you had to take on. And to me, that doesn't make sense. If you take on Wiggins, you might as well hold on to Kyle Kuzma, because the salary length, the play style, they're very similar. So when I looked at prospective teams for Kyle Kuzma, you got to try to get some kind of return value, right? And to me, Kevin Huerter, is a good return. Lyles, you get that expiring contract, and you get a first-round pick in the 2026 first-round pick. So those are my 3 trades I think are the most realistic trades for the Washington Wizards. And obviously, they are subject to change. The market will change, but I think those are 3 very realistic moves. Because, again, I made it known, guys, we should definitely try to get not only trade assets back in return at this deadline. Let's try to find some diamonds in the rough. I'm missing some young players that we may want to target. Ousmane Dieng is a guy from Oklahoma City that I really like. Maybe take a look at Bobo. Maybe with this environment of development, try to see if you can help him reach his potential. So there's some young players in this league that I would definitely try to target in any prospective trades. Another Kyle Kuzma trade that I looked at in the past was Cleveland Cavaliers. They have, interest in that when it comes to Kyle Kuzma. Maybe you try to go get Karis LeVert and Isaac Okoro and in the first-round pick. I believe with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the best pick was a 2031. So I know a lot of people weren't happy with the 2031 draft pick. But here's the thing with the later draft picks. When it comes to draft picks, I kind of mentioned this before, they fit 2 purposes, right? Number one, to acquire young talent to the draft. But when you have those later picks, yes, you're probably not going to use those picks in the draft. You're going to use those to kind of package together to acquire that one key player to add to your team, that Donovan Mitchell. That when they added him to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they drafted Mobley. They did trade for Jared Allen, but they drafted Mobley, they drafted Garland, they drafted Okoro. To add those type of deals, like Rudy Gobert in Minnesota, to add that veteran piece, that 1-star player to your young core to help them push them over the top from playoff team to championship team, you need draft capital. And it's not just the early picks that count, because you're going to be using those picks in the draft. It's those 2030, those 2031 picks and beyond that help you. Because look, if a team's going to be willing to give up star talent. They're going to want picks in return because they're at that point, they're either looking to retool or rebuild. So, like I said, those later picks, 2029 and later, they're very important because you're not just looking to acquire young talent through the draft, which is definitely what you're using your earlier draft picks to do. But those older ones are for grabbing those star players because you need draft capital to do so. So, all right, everybody, like I said, we did cover a lot today. But we're not done yet. We're going to get into a preview for tomorrow night's game versus the Charlotte Hornets because we have a very special guest that you guys are very, very familiar with. So we're going to get into a preview for tomorrow night's game against the Charlotte Hornets at Capital One. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25 APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up for Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Tonight's episode is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me a few times. I had a few subscriptions that didn't even realize I was paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Good Lord. Saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features in the subscription tracker is a subscription tracker. Oh, let me get it out, y'all. I use it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with the goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting every month. So do yourselves a favor, as I always say. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. All right, everybody, let's get back into things. So, before we get up out of here, let's do a preview for tomorrow night's game at home versus the Charlotte Hornets, because I think this is one of the most winnable games for us on the schedule coming up. So looking at the Charlotte Hornets, they come in there with a 7-19 record for 13th in the East. But hold on now, we got them beat to there. We are 3-21 for 15th in the East. So we're definitely two teams who are challenging for a top 5 draft pick in next year's NBA draft. But I do think this is a winnable game. All right, so looking at some team leaders for both teams, looking at the Hornets first. Leading in points is Lonzo Ball. Lord have mercy. LaMelo Ball, y'all. I'm a big fan of both of them. LaMelo Ball. He is leading the Charlotte Hornets with 30.2 points per game while shooting 42.7% from the field. Leading them in rebounds is Nick Richards with 9.3 rebounds per game. And then assists, again, is LaMelo Ball at 7.2 assists per game, while only committing 4.4 turnovers per game. So that is one stat to look at in the turnovers, that is. Looking at the Wizards, leading the Wizards in points is Jordan Poole in 20 points per game while shooting 43.4% from the field. Jonas Valanciunas is leading the Wizards with rebounds with 7.6 rebounds per game. And then JP13 is leading the Wizards in assists with 5 assists per game while only committing 3.5 turnovers per game. So again, definitely remember turnover as that key stat. Now, for all you bettors out there, the Hornets are the favorites. They are 3.5 or negative 3.5 point favorites. So they are slight favorites, but I do think this is a very, very winnable game for the Washington Wizards. Now, we are still dealing with a lot of injuries. Now, when we get closer to tip-off, you might see some of these guys available. Now, looking at the injuries for the Hornets, Brandon Miller is day-to-day with an ankle injury. So if he's not able to play, that would definitely be a really good thing for the Washington Wizards. Definitely hope he's, don't want to see anybody injured, but you guys kind of see where I'm going there. And then man at point guard, he is out. And Grant Williams is out for the season with an ACL injury for the Hornets. Now, looking at the Wizards, we have a lot of injuries. As we know, Kyle Kuzma is still out. D is day-to-day with that rib injury, so we'll see if he suits up for the Lakers, or not the Lakers, the Hornets, my bad. Looking at Malcolm Brogdon, he is day-to-day with a hamstring injury. Corey Kispert is still out with that ankle injury. Same thing with Keyshawn George. And again, Sadiq Bey is out with that knee injury, that ACL injury that he had surgery for in the offseason. So, looking at these guys, who do I realistically think will play? That's a tough call. You definitely think that Corey Kispert and Keyshawn George hopefully are getting back to 100%. I'm a guy I'm a former basketball player who has had his fair share of ankle injuries, and they can last a while, especially if they're high ankle sprains, man. They can definitely last a while, especially if there's bone bruise there. So we'll get a clearer picture towards tip-off who's going to be available, just for the sake of trade value. Malcolm Brogdon definitely, just health overall. Don't want to see him hurt, but want to see him get back to 100% because he's one of those guys we definitely want to get some kind of value in return for. So want to see him get back to 100%. And then Kyle Kuzma, another trade candidate, and definitely want to see him be healthy because, just for the sake of health. But you better believe that with Kyle Kuzma and Malcolm Brogdon, especially the closer we get to the trade deadline, I want to see them get healthy so we can showcase them and eventually move them at some point. So looking at what would be my 3 keys to development. I'm not going to say victory because we're 3-21. So we're going to say 3 keys to development, kind of like what me and Ed did last year. And speaking of which, Ed will be the special guest for tomorrow night's live recap. So my guy, man, my former co-host over here at Locked On Wizards, a guy that I definitely miss being on the show, man. But like I said, he moved on to bigger and better things. So, good to have my guy, the real Ed Oliver, back on the show tomorrow night. So definitely tune in for that, guys. But getting back into the 3 keys to development. Number 1, we already mentioned it, turnovers. We, the Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards are both the 24th and 25th in the league in turnovers. They're committing 15.3 per game. We are committing 15.6 per game. So if, 2 very sloppy teams. So we've got to be fluent with, when it comes to committing turnovers. Fluid ball movement, ball security, communication. We've got to be better with turnovers. Turnovers are usually one of those factors, if not usually the lone, not the lone factor, but the biggest factor that contributes to a lot of our losses, man. We turn over the ball at a high clip, and the teams always kill us with points off of turnovers, man. So turnovers, we got to win the battle of the turnovers. Defensively, close out the shooters, man, especially on the perimeter, because LaMelo Ball is going to shoot from the perimeter. We already know. Brandon Miller, another guy who's going to shoot from the perimeter. You definitely have to close out the shooters on the perimeter. We got to communicate. When it comes to rotation, defensive rotations and switches, man, we got to switch faster. We've got to really communicate on the defensive side of the ball. All right, number 2, points against. They are only giving up 112 points per game compared to 123. So again, ball movement comes into play and having a balanced offense. Look, ball movement in team basketball has to be your go-to, but when the time calls for it, isolation one-on-one basketball works. So we've got to have that balanced offense, in my opinion. If you have that balanced offense, we definitely have to attack them. Definitely get to the line. Definitely collapses off and collapse your defense and get some guys on the offense, on the outside going, man. See if we can get Bilal going on the outside, depending on who plays, if Corey Kispert and Keyshawn George are, if they suit up, definitely want to get them going on the outside because we know they are those shooters on the outside. So the 3rd key to development will be rebounds. We've got to win the rebound battle. We are 19th in the NBA at 43.3 rebounds per game. But the Charlotte Hornets with Nick Richards and Mark Williams, because I believe he is back in full fold, is starting at center. And we know that Mark Williams has had a history with putting big rebound numbers on the Washington Wizards. It was last year. I went to that game. Me and my wife went to that game. And I believe Mark Williams put up a 20-piece when it came to rebounding. So we've got to win the battle of paint. Not only when it comes to paint defense, but the rebound battle, man. Teams are notorious for getting offensive rebounds on us. We are bad at boxing out. And what does offensive rebounds do? They extend possessions. And they always sets us up for second chance points. So we've got to win the battle of the paint. We've got to win the battle of the rebounds. And like I said, one key matchup is definitely Mark Williams and Nick Richards versus Alex Sarr and Jonas Valanciunas. We've got to win that battle. So definitely want to see Valanciunas do his thing because we know what he can do in the paint. But definitely looking for more aggression and a lot more play in the paint for Alex Sarr. Stops, camping out on the perimeter. Definitely a 7-1 when to see him get more active in the paint, getting those rebounds, definitely getting those putbacks. So those are my 3 keys to development. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. We covered a lot tonight. JP13 and interest from the Denver Nuggets. Jonas Valanciunas to the Lakers and Kyle Kuzma to the Kings. So you guys get in the comment section. Let me know what trades do you like and don't like and why. Definitely, definitely let your boy know. What trades do you like and don't like. I know people gonna get on me about the Lakers move, but like I said, second round picks do have value, especially now that you have a front office that knows how to use them. So like I said, if you don't use those second round picks to find those diamonds in the rough in the second round, we can package those picks and get back into the first round. So we have some capabilities in the draft coming up. So, all right, guys, again, let me know how I did with the trades and do you agree or disagree and why. So, all right, everybody, like I said, tomorrow night we will be going live following the Washington Wizards and Charlotte Hornets matchup. So I believe it is a 7:00 game. Yes, it is. So we will probably be going live around 9:30. So definitely tune in for that because the real Ed Oliver will be back on the show to join your boy to go over the live recap. So definitely excited to have my guy back on the show. And we have Damo on the show. We will be recording today as of recording this video, but we will be releasing that video on Friday. So definitely excited to have Damo of the Wizards of Gallery Place podcast. We're going to be talking about the draft a little bit. If we don't get Cooper Flag, I know he's a favorite of him, but is Dylan Harper the guy to over Ace Bailey? We're going to talk about that. And outside of those two, what other players are we looking at in the draft in worst case scenario? So definitely tune in for that. So, all right, everybody, definitely appreciate you guys rocking with your boy as usual. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys next time.